ready to go. Great. All right, my name is Aaron Frichtl, for those of you out in Cyberland, and we have a full Tech Academy classroom here. This is great. So I wanted to start off by asking and actually soliciting your input on things. What would you not want to answer if you were like in an interview, for instance? Go ahead. Yes, Chris.
Are you pregnant?
Are you pregnant? It's probably not a good question for them to ask you.
It's illegal.
It's an illegal question, right? Or anyone, yeah. And especially if you're not pregnant too, that wouldn't be a good thing for them to be asking that either. On more levels, yeah. So yes.
Where are you from?
Where are you from? That's another good one.
How old are you?
How old are you? Yes. Asia.
Along the pregnancy lines, like what are your family plans within the next 5 years?
What are your family plans within the next 5 years? Yeah, really good one too. Any other ones? Yes.
What's the conflict that you have with your coworker?
Conflict that you have with your coworker? That's actually an okay one for them to ask. So that's not an illegal one. So it may make you uncomfortable, believe me. But you have to kind of carefully go around that one. But that's a good one to actually ask and for you to answer. So yeah. Anybody else have one? What are your religious beliefs, or what's another one?
Basing on age again, when did you graduate high school, or
when did you graduate high school, or what's your age? Yeah, I'm very into that. Any other ones?
sexual orientation?
Sexual orientation, good one.
Political views?
Political views, yes. Any other ones? Oh, you're working with a lot of them. Yes, Asia.
Disabilities?
Disabilities, yes. They can kind of skirt around that one by saying, do you need any accommodation? They can say something like that. But yeah, so there are a lot of questions out there that are illegal or very uncomfortable, to say the least. So going into my presentation, why do people ask questions? I'm asking you. Obviously, if you're in an interview, they want to ask questions so they can get to know you. And they want some sort of an answer. So, you know, obviously, your goal should be to be as truthful with them as possible. You don't want to lie to them. You shouldn't lie to them because they will invariably find out that you were lying, and they can fire you for that. So even if you're a brand new employee, if they find out that you've been lying, you're out the door. So that's something you definitely do not want to do. But your answer reveals something about you. It could be something very insightful. Hey, this person's really intelligent by the way they answered their question. That's cool. That's a good thing, right? Good thing for them to discover about you. Are you in the same ballpark? Now, do I mean baseball? Am I talking the baseball metaphor here? Am I in the same ballpark with you guys right now? Ballpark means this could be like the salary question, for instance. You know, are you in the same range as what they are offering for this position? So that would be something that would be probably a very uncomfortable question for you to answer, but something to prepare for, obviously. And then last one, are you someone to avoid? That's kind of important for them because they are completely consumed with this idea of, I don't want to hire the wrong person. And they will go through amazing lengths to make sure that you're not the person they don't want. So they will ask you question after question. They'll have you interview with other people. And some of you know this already, but we had one guy that went to an interview down in the Bay Area, and they put him through 8 separate interviews for one position. Same company, one position. So they were really paranoid that he wasn't going to be the right person. So they had him interview with people that he might have contact with once a month. So that's pretty extreme, but it does happen. So some companies have been burned, and that's why they want to ask more questions or really find out from you. You know, are you on the same page with them? Do you understand their mission? That sort of thing. But your biggest risk is that you will reveal something that will hurt your chances of getting a job with them. Admittedly, that's probably your biggest fear with answering the questions, right? Does that sound about right? Okay. So, can you get a better question? So, you can ask them to repeat the question. It's going to give you time to think about another answer. Shows that you're listening, but that you would like to find out what they really want. So it helps them to go through that, and it helps you by giving you extra time, which is cool. And then asking them for clarification. Are they being vague with their question? Are they purposefully being vague and leaving it open for interpretation, what exactly that they're looking for? So you could give them a choice between two options. Are you meaning this, or are you actually wanting to know this? And I think that's a really interesting way of approaching it, because A, you're thinking about it, you're thinking through the problem, you're thinking about what they're actually asking, and you're thinking on your feet, so to speak, which is cool. All right. So you can also ask them for a definition. People have different meanings for different words, and sometimes that's very true. And especially if you're talking about a technical term, there could be different versions of that technical concept that, if you ask them for a definition of it, you'll understand where they're coming from. And they may not even know what they're talking about, and that's very true. So you may have an interviewer that asks you, hey, do you know about RESTful APIs? And then you ask them a question, well, what sort of RESTful APIs are you asking about? And so then they have to explain themselves or stumble around and realize that they really don't know what a RESTful API is. And who does know what a RESTful API is? Yes. Tell me.
Oh, I'm supposed to say it?
Yes. I'm putting you on the spot there.
I can't remember the exact term. Some
Okay.
representational,
Okay.
All
All right.
Delete, put.
Okay. You did good. You're fired. No, that's it's good. I mean, obviously they may put you on the spot just like that, and you'll be like stumbling around for an answer for it. But I mean, sometimes it's your interviewer that's really truly ignorant, and so being able to ask them a question back, I think, is a good thing for you, and it shows that you have an understanding of it as well. So you can redefine or define it. So state what you think. You can guide the question and the answer in the direction that you prefer, which is cool. You have the ability to maneuver around something. So when they're saying, hey, how many years of experience do you have? Do you think that's a pretty tough one if you've just come through the boot camp and you don't have years, but maybe you have less than a year? Does anybody have an answer or how they would answer that one? How many years of experience do you have? Cody. It's good. So you're asking a question back. Any other ideas? Well, I can tell you about the projects that I've been on, and then you start to talk through those projects, and you kind of avoided that whole question about how many years. So it's definitely a way of doing things, but you can dodge the question, and there are different ways of doing that. But dodging kind of goes back to baseball, I guess. You can redirect the question. Talk about something that you are comfortable with. And so if they're talking about, say, Java, for instance, and you say, hey, this is what I do know about Java, and this is what I've done on C#. And so you talk about how C# is really close to Java, and you start talking through that whole process, which is really cool. And you can answer ambiguously, that's a good question. What do you think? So it's just another way of being really kind of vague with them as well. You can diffuse the uncomfortable question with humor. So you could joke about it, which if anybody knows me here, I like to say a lot of puns and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not trying to be vague or avoiding your questions, but I just enjoy humor. So it's true. So you could say, no, I won't answer that. Is that going to be a little bit confrontational? Probably, yeah. You could, that one's a tough one because you are being like, no, there's a wall there. I'm not going to cross it. So you may want to see how you are dealing with some of the other questions as well, but you could shame them. Wow, you sure ask a lot of personal questions, don't you? And you know, that could put them in their spot too, and they can realize, oh, okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Yeah. Shaming them can be kind of interesting too. So it kind of goes along with that no category, but no, I won't answer that. But next one, another question. What do you mean by that question? Or you could ask something that's very similar, or kind of take it in a different route. You can stall for time, pretending that you do not understand the question. Yeah, and then you have like a what they call a pregnant pause there. You just kind of wait. Yeah, if they ask, have a pregnant pause when they ask if you're pregnant. Yeah, that's a good one. Good one, Anna. You could ignore it, just avoid the question by talking about something else. That's going to be kind of confusing maybe to them. You're going to realize that you just kind of talk completely over that. But think about this. How many times have you heard a politician ignore the question and just talk about what they wanted to say? All the time. Yeah, so they're masters of doing that, actually. And, if you listen, there are elements in there that do pertain to what the question was, but really it's their talking points. They call their talking points that they want to get out there. And so you could do the same sort of principle. Obviously, you don't want to keep avoiding all their questions. You do want to answer some questions. So don't answer. This is a tough one. Do you know what I mean by don't answer? Yeah. Just wait it out. I mean, that's also a very tough one. But they're going to get uncomfortable at some point if you're not already there. You're going to have to realize, okay, somebody's going to have to give here, And so that one's that. And then last one I have there is laugh and depart. So if they've really gone too far, you can say, I think this isn't quite the right opportunity for me, and then you just kind of walk off. So, yeah, that one's obviously, you probably had a number of questions that were really uncomfortable or illegal questions, something that they should not be asking. So, yeah, there's obviously there's various ways that you can deal with these questions, but these are just some of them. So there are standardized retorts or something that you might fire back at them. Why do you want to know? Good question. Another one, I would rather not talk about it. So you're obviously avoiding that one. Or I'm not at liberty to say. Maybe that is something like at your previous work that they're asking you something about, it's something internally that you're not able to talk about. You could say, I'm not at liberty to say, or I'm sorry, that's confidential. And that's okay. You could say, I'm sorry, that's personal. And that's also okay. Or mind your own business. It's obviously going a little bit over the edge there. So, or I'll tell you later. This one has been used by people in the salary question. I'd like to actually talk about it later when I know more about the position. That's something you could also have that variant there. How about we wait and see? So another one. Let me get back to you on that one. And that one's actually quite good in technical interviews too. So if they're asking you something that you really don't know, you can say, I don't know that one right now, but I can get back to you with that. And that's always something that I always. That's something that I like to see people do is have great follow-ups. And if there's something you just don't know, talk to them about that. And then later get back to them and say, hey, I'm excited. I've actually found out what you were talking about. This is what I know about it. And usually that comes across really well. And I've had people get hired based on that too. So follow-up is really valuable. Number 10 here, no comment. Awkward silence, waiting them out. That's kind of like what we did on that other slide there. So, so the other thing you could do is just plain answer it. Yeah. So that can be a little tough sometimes, but does it make more sense? So, who are you? And do you really want them to have this impression that you're trying to hide something? So that can be more of a problem sometimes than not. And, realistically, there's a lot of things that you could probably dodge or get around or find a funny retort to or something like that. But realistically, they're going to hire you, right? That's the whole thing. And you don't want it to be what I have on the third one here. You should not have like a bait and switch technique. How many people know what bait and switch means? One. Okay, bait and switch is like, for instance, a car dealer. They advertise like this super low price on a car. And you get there and you find out it's one car, it's already out on a test drive, and you have to have all these other things with it too. But we have this other model here that's $5,000 more. And you don't want that to come across in your own interview with them, your conversation with them. So in some ways, you might buckle down and answer some of the tough ones. I think that any of the ones that are really illegal, just avoid them. I mean, I don't think that they're supposed to be answering or asking you those questions. They know that, they really do know that, and you can just get around them. But looking back at what your values are, are you proud of your family? If you're married, or if you have a partner, domestic partner, or something like that, are you okay with talking about it? I think it's okay sometimes, and I think that a lot of times the employer will also look at you and realize this is a real person. There are sensitive topics that people don't want to talk about, but realistically, they want to get to know you. And the important thing is to really like you and have you on their team. And so if you match their team in some fashion, they may kind of throw some of these questions at you that are a little tougher just to see how you squirm and how you get around them and the cool questions and answers that you come back with. But realistically, like I said, they want to get to know you. So my key concepts are stay calm. Really important. It's easy to get rattled and like, I'm really tense, I'm really nervous, and you get red in the face, and your sweat is dripping off your brow, and you're shaking, and you're trying to keep it all together and realize, hey, I'm trying to really come across in this really positive manner. But realistically, keep yourself in control. That's what we have practice sessions for. That's why we come up with answers beforehand. Always, always practice. And remember to stay positive and add some fun to it. Because the more that people get to like you and really basically love you for who you are is when you add a little bit of fun to it, which is really cool. The whole idea is getting the job, which is the cool thing. So that's my presentation, kind of quick, but I do have a little short video at the end here, and it's just really brief. Let me see here. So let's see if I can get it to work. Yeah, crank my audio. So I just found this little example. There are a lot of resources on the internet too. So my presentation is not the definitive answer on all of these topics, but it's wise to look things up. If you have a question that you want to specifically dodge, or you have something from your past that is a tough one. I've worked with a lot of people that have tough questions, and sometimes we get together and we work around those. But here's the video.
Hi, I'm Ali Bryce, and we're here at the marvellous Hackney Warehouse with a special interview in how not to answer a question. Now, I'm joined by professional person Bob Fletcher. How are you?
Very well.
It's a pleasure to have you here, but we'll just kick things off with a simple question first. Taking offence. Bob Fletcher, is that your name?
I do take offence to the line of that question, and when you phrase that, it suggests that my name is the only important thing about it, and I think people should consider the whole picture.
Certainly not the only important thing about you, it's just perhaps the least important thing about you. And this is why I asked so early on, ran out of time. Is your name Bob Fletcher?
Okay, so what I'd like to do is just, I'll answer that question in a moment if you let me finish. Yeah? Good. Now, I was in Basingstoke recently.
Okay.
And whilst I was there, sure, lots of things happened to me. Things happen to everyone.
So the viewers at home must be dumbfounded that a man like you cannot confirm that his name is Bob Fletcher.
I appreciate what you're.
Is your name Bob
I
Fletcher?
have been given many
Is your
names.
name Bob Fletcher?
The amount of names I've had.
What's your name, son? Technical problems.
Let me ask that question very clearly. What I want to do is talk about the system. And without too much, I think it's important to remember that.
Bob Fletcher there.
All right. So that's my little injection of humor. So, do I have any questions about dodging questions, or do I answer that? Anybody? Asia first. Oh, okay. Yes, Jeff.
Okay, I lost that round. It's fine.
All right.
That was a good awkward silence, though.
It was a good awkward silence. Yes. Asia.
Not so much like dodging the question, but just like I know that sometimes interviews will ask those like random questions that are actually getting at like analytical thinking skills. Like if you were shrunken down and put in some container. But what about something that seems like an actual throwaway question, like what would if you were an animal? What animal? Like are they actually teasing out information, or are they just trying to see like your sense of humor, or is it like how do you kind of read those?
So like the animal question about I'm restating it. What animal are you, or what do you identify with, or something like that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, I mean, they want to know your personality.
Okay, so
I
don't
think
like
that's
take
part
it
of
for granted. Like
No, it's. I don't think it's meant to be like, okay, we're going to call you that from now on. So you have to pick your animal name right now. No, I think sometimes it's just a matter of seeing how you adjust to the question too. So sometimes it's wacky or wild, and it's like, okay, that took me off guard, but I'm rolling with it. And so, yeah, it can be not necessarily uncomfortable. It's just like, how do I answer that dumb question, you know? So, yeah. Other questions? Yes?
When asked about your experience, is it okay to talk on things that are unrelated to coding, just from past job experiences? Not to say that you want to entirely talk on those things, but just touch on them.
So your question was, is it okay to talk about other things other than the question if it was perhaps a technical question and they're asking you about your like a technical example of that? Do you can you use other examples? Yes, you can. A lot of what it is that they're trying to determine by asking you the question is how do you think through a problem, for one thing, and then experience that you have in those various areas. They do translate from other disciplines or other jobs or something like that. So the more that you can bring those experiences in and tie them together with software development, which is what we teach here, the whole idea is, do they have to reinvent the wheel with you or not? Does everybody know what I mean by reinventing the wheel? There's certain concepts that you get as like being a great employee, or you've managed a team, or you've been a great team member, or you've been able to submit things or work on user stories or do great stand-ups or any number of things with software. But there's a lot of things that also pertain to that. So maybe you were on a sports team or some sort of academic group or any number of things that can apply. So yeah, cool. Other questions? Cricket. No other questions? All right, I think that's it then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.